Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Lacy Arant, founder of Endeavor Branding. Lacy works with businesses to help them clarify their identity, refine their messaging, and build brands that actually connect with the right audience. Her work focuses on the foundation of growth, helping businesses move from confused to clarity so they can attract that right person. Lacy, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Lacy, with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Endeavor Branding, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so I started my first business at 19. I actually am, fourth generation probably of entrepreneurs. So I've actually never seen my dad is in college athletics. And so he was the only person I've ever seen in my life have a W-2 income. And so everyone else owned their own business or had inherited a family business. And so I really didn't know any better. And at 19, during college, actually identified a need for the community that I was in. There was no Pilates studio. And I had recently learned the Pilates method. And so I had moved to New York and got trained there and came back and opened my first studio at that age. And I would go on to open 2 more studios, develop an online method. And I just kept falling in love with the business and then starting it.
Love that.
And I did that for many years. And then finally, actually, I guess it's been about 4 years ago now, started to realize and kind of crave a more of a singular channel to work in. I kind of kept piling the businesses on, and I was wearing so many hats and doing so many things. And I really was wanting to get to a place where I could just do the thing, right, that felt skilled at doing. And that led me to developing a leadership company alongside my dad. And did that for 3 to 4 years. We're still kind of in that phase with him. But that was really the point where I realized that I could build the businesses, but I didn't have to do it for myself. I could actually do it for other people, and I could help them develop their identities. And so I've been in business for so long, and I've done this in so many formats. Along the way, I would help friends, consult on them starting businesses as well. But the very first one came many years ago.
I love that. So a serial entrepreneur, which is pretty cool. So yeah, as you say, coming from like 4th generation down, it's nice to just follow that trend. And I feel like when you have grown up in that kind of environment, naturally it's very normal for you to, as you say, kind of business hop and just realize that you can grow your own way around your life. And it doesn't come naturally to everybody to, as you say, like putting those skills to good use. Must kind of fill you with a sense of fulfillment now, having developed all of that yourself and now obviously passing that on to other people in a very similar position to what you might have been when you first started your business.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I tell people all the time, if I can just help save you from making the expensive mistakes, right? Because I've made so many of them. And when you start that young, you just don't know. There's no manual to opening a small business or starting a large concept even. And you just have to learn your way through it. And that is, certainly something that I can say I am an expert in is learning the tough lessons along the way. And it is so gratifying to be able to see and anticipate some of those challenges with the brands that I work with now. And as best I can, help them work their way around them and not experience them, at least to the degree that I did.
Yeah, I love that because as you say, like business growth isn't always linear. There are so many pivots that happen and making mistakes along the way is only natural. But it's so nice if you can like foresee that for other people and as you say, guide them through what might not end up happening in the first place. So that's a really cool aspect. So let's dive into Endeavor Branding a little bit more then, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. So Lacy, at this point in, who would you say like is your ideal client? Like who is it that you very, very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how would you help them? And how do you support them along their own journey?
Yeah, so much in that question. The person that I love working with is a service-based client who has a service that solves a problem, but they're not sharing that with a lot of clarity and thus confidence right now. It is the person whose service and their unique skill solves a really important problem for a very specific client, but they don't have all those pieces to put that story together. And so they're likely working really hard. They
Yeah.
likely are producing a result, but it could be a bigger result that's also easier to come by with the clarity of their messaging, with being able to say, this is what I do, this is who I do it for, and this is how I do it in a way that sets me apart in the marketplace. And that sounds so simple, and it is so simple, but it's not as easy to come by for ourselves. And I struggle with it for myself. I have to, really work hard at getting hyper clarity around my own messaging. And so I understand how hard it is, but it's a lot easier for me to help, someone else to do that. And I think that all of us as founders and entrepreneurs really need to be willing to ask the question and ask for help around getting a different perspective around our own brands. And so I ask for help all the time. But that is the person that I can serve because I've been that person for so many years. I had a really good skill. I had, some abilities that really could set me apart, but I didn't always know how to tell that story to the right person. And that's what we help our clients do.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, and actually, I speak to a lot of founders and entrepreneurs on the podcast, and it is generally one of the main topics that pops up because it is, as you say, it's so hard to sometimes just get trying to explain what you do to other people. It is such a hard thing, and having that fresh set of eyes go over things, or just to pull the ideas out of you and make it translatable for everybody else. As you say, it just saves you so much time in that long hand, and you can make what sounds like a very complicated life so much easier with just those simple tweaks moving forward. But it does take that outside perspective sometimes to really draw it out of people. So, like, Lacey, what is your style or your approach when you are working with the clients? How is it you kind of get into the businesses with them and help them kind of define that messaging and obviously attract those right kind of people?
Yeah, our approach is really relational, and I'll tell you that doesn't always work, and it doesn't always end up being scalable. So I know we'll get to pain points at some point, but that's where we are. My whole career, I have really relied on and leaned into my ability to connect with people, and it has served me really well to a certain degree, right? And there's a point in business where you have to start systemizing things and automating things just so that you can even serve better and start to build and scale. But I would say that what right now and up until this point in these first 2 years of Endeavor's life, we're 2 years old actually next week. What has worked for us so far is the ability that we have as a team, a very small team, to connect with people. We were really good listeners, and what generally happens is that people go other places to try to find the service that we provide, and they end up coming back around because we were the ones who listened and we were the ones who spent the time with them to truly understand what the problem that they have is and how big it is to them, how meaningful it is to them, how painful it is for them right now. And when we really listen to them and connect into that, I think that they know how much we care about helping them solve that problem. And so up until this point, that's what's gotten us here. It will likely not get us there wherever there is as we continue to grow. But it is really important to me right now that the people that we work with know how much we truly love and care about the result that we're going to try to help them achieve.
Yeah, beautiful. I like that. And especially in the current state of the world that we're in, there's a big trust recession everyone keeps talking about. So it is nice to lead into more of those relationship-based kind of situations, building trust with people, connecting with them. And the fact that, as you say, they don't always stick with you that first time around, but if they're coming back to you, you're obviously doing something right on that front end. And it is just connecting with the strangers, especially when they are in that service-based industry. Often I'm assuming most of the coaches are pretty much solopreneurs or on their own in that state. So having somebody that they can trust to just really pick their brain apart, I guess sometimes is a very
Yes.
personal experience. So yeah, I like that aspect to it. So how do you go about kind of building those relationships, or like, are you doing a lot of networking at the moment and just getting yourself in those right situations?
In these first 2 years, it's been such a blessing. I'm kind of in this phase in my business where we are looking at what's next, and we're looking at what growth looks like for us, and actually where leads and future leads are going to come from.
Yeah.
But in these first 2 years, 100% of our business has been built on referrals and on word of mouth, and we have not spent a single marketing dollar, not one. And um, and that's been such a gift, and it's let us get this far down the road to a point where we're like, okay, we haven't had to lean into external marketing of any sort, but we will have to do that
Yeah.
as we grow and as the team grows. But we've just been so fortunate that the clients that we've worked with so far have trusted us enough, not only to work with us on their own, but to share their results with other people who trust them and they've come to us. Um, and so we're just kind of seeing that we're on that like tipping point now of letting that be our driver up until this point, and also looking ahead to the future and how that's going to need to change as we scale.
Yeah, as you say, when things get a little bit bigger, it's nice to just add other avenues onto it so you can grow. But not many people can say that they've had a great referral system coming in for 2 years. So that is a really cool aspect. And it does just show kudos to the work that you are doing with your current clients. Because as you say, if they're passing your name on, then naturally you're doing something right. So when you do put in those efforts, hopefully you'll just be kind of throwing gasoline on that fire and really taking it to the next level. Are there any kind of ideas you have going on how you're going to do that? Or is it like any platforms at the moment, even online, where you're just trying to increase your ecosystem a little bit more?
Yeah, right now we're actually in the middle of creating a really cool shift to our business model. So far, our entry point has been a pretty high price point because of this heavy lift we do around identity and clarity. And identity and clarity is something that takes a lot of work and a lot of time and intensive um, time on our end as a team. Also, the work with the client is pretty intensive, and then the delivery is intensive. So it's kind of been like everything has felt big and heavy on the lift side, both for us and for the client. And not everybody, in the state of the world, both 2 years ago and even now, and as we look ahead into the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years, has a large the large entry ticket price can be scary. And so what we are doing right now is making a really big shift to audit first, and that's not something we've ever offered. So we're actually literally as of last week, this we just introduced this model, but we're just going to an audit delivery without all of the implementation. So the initial point will be where you can come to us and we will audit your entire brand. We will find the gaps in your messaging. We will find the places where you're lacking clarity and where we really see you're not telling your story correctly to your ideal client. Maybe you don't know who that is, right? Where are the gaps and inconsistencies across your social channels, your website, all of that. And we do all the discovery part as its own deliverable, which then you can take that and either go implement it yourself. You can go find another vendor if we're not the right vendor for you. Or we are then happy to put you into our ecosystem and say, okay, let's start with clear identity on the visual side. Let's let that lead into your website, remodel, or then finally brand management on the back end, where we do take on select clients for social media and brand management and email marketing. But we feel like that's just a little bit better or easier of an entry point for someone with us, that they can actually come and get our expertise on the clarity and the messaging side, and then they have a little bit more autonomy on what then they go and do with that information.
Yeah, I love that. And as you say, it's almost an introductory of what it's like to work with you, but you are leaving with value. So as you say, whether they take that audit with them and they can go and work on it themselves, at least they know the flaws or even other things they can highlight with other agencies. But they also have your support on the end when they are ready to take those steps, when it feels natural to them. So as you say, you're kind of meeting the man in the middle and then moving forward when they're ready to do so.
Yeah,
Really cool
exactly.
process. Yeah, awesome stuff. And I suppose with all that being said, then what are your like visions or ambitions for the company moving forward? Like when you think of maybe the next 6 to 12 months ahead, like what are those milestones or the targets that you're looking forward to achieving?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite questions. I don't see a limit to where Endeavor can go as a brand. And sometimes, that can be kind of big and scary, but it doesn't scare me because I really believe in the value that we can add to our clients. And because of what happens for them when they work with us, they continue to grow and scale, and we are here and ready to grow and scale along with them, and support on the support side and kind of that concierge level of continuing to make sure that their brand and their messaging tightens and evolves with them as their brand grows, because that's important too, right? We can help you develop it on the front end, but as your brand grows, you have to be able to be dynamic and shift and change. And so we're working on ways that we can streamline that. We are huge proponents of AI, but we believe that we bring a warmth and a connection, a level of connection that you can't get just with AI alone. And so we're working on some tools and resources with that. And then I would say the biggest phase, or the biggest thing coming in the next phase for us is I can't personally work with every client one-on-one at the capacity and level that I am right now. if we are going to scale. And so taking some of the things that we do, some of our thought leadership, some of our tools and resources that we use on a daily basis for our clients and on behalf of our clients, we are shifting into that digital course and resource format that you can come and no matter where you are in your business journey to try to you can experience our work at
Yeah.
the place that's right for you. And so you'll see a larger presence of digital resources, I would say, in the next probably 12 to 18 months for sure.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, because as you said at the start, like you will become the bottleneck of your business because you're functionally like within that kind of service, you are trading your time. So even if they're on retainer, it just takes a lot of effort on your part. And especially if you are deep diving into that mindset, as you say, it's heavy work on the end of it as well. So I
Yeah,
like the fact you are kind of going to that one-to-many approach. They can follow in their own time and really streamline it on your end as well.
right.
Yeah, that's a great aspect moving forward. And I suppose even like where are you probably finding the biggest challenge for yourself in achieving those goals or even within the current business that you have?
Oh, my biggest challenge is being the bottleneck. And it's something that I'm so good at working and counseling my clients on because it's happened to me forever. It happens to every
Yeah.
founder of every business. But we are doing a few really exciting things right now. We just hired a company to come in and audit us, just like we do for other brands. You'll never hear me say that I'm unwilling to ask, for outside help and perspective. I think it's so powerful, especially as a founder. Foundership can be so lonely,
Yeah.
and there's just not a lot of us who are crazy enough to come go out and do this sort of thing. I say all the time, you got to have the stomach for it. And so we have a company who is coming in and has already come in. They've audited our processes and systems, and they are in the process of creating new ones for us so
Cool.
that we can um, really again clarify our not even just our messaging because I feel like we do a good job of that, but we need to clarify our systems and the way that we operate. And so we
Yeah.
have someone coming in to help us optimize our operating system right now. And I think it is really going to be the thing that takes us into the next chapter of what Endeavor is going to look like.
Yeah, 100%. Especially when you're looking to scale, having that operation system behind you is so important. It's like a house of cards, you don't want it kind of crumbling down or taking up space when it doesn't need to. So, as you say, clarifying things on the back end will hopefully alleviate some time for you on that front end as well, and you can keep things moving nice and smooth. I love the way that you said, like with entrepreneurs, you have to have the stomach for it. I often say you have to have the skin for it because you have to have that thick skin to keep going and keep going. So yeah, it is just one of those journeys, unfortunately, and becoming the bottleneck of the company is something that a lot of people struggle with. So as you say, just alleviating a little bit more time so you can keep working on the business and hopefully that sees you moving in those right directions. And Lacey, I have one more question to ask you. So if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
I would say that you don't need to do things scared. You need to do things courageous. I think that there's this thought that I hear all the time, and I've said it so often on social media and in podcast formats, just like this one, that, people say it, do something scared. And I actually believe that wastes so much energy because it takes a lot of energy to feel fear. But if you can understand, um, how to learn how to be courageous, if you can understand the concept of what courage actually means from an earlier age. And I do think that's something that was instilled in me from a young age, but I'm just now learning really how powerful it is. And I think if I would have had I understood the power of it earlier on, I wouldn't have maybe felt like I needed to hold myself back from how naturally inclined I am to go for things and to pursue big and scary things. And so something that my dad talks about a lot is courage and the difference in courage and bravery. And so bravery is something that, you need to be able to do in the moment. If you pass someone and there's a bad car accident, it takes bravery. You have to be brave to make a choice in the moment to do something that may go against the grain, right? To pull your car over and run into a car that's on fire to help someone. That's being brave, which is great too. But courage is a choice that you consistently choose to do something hard over and over again without knowing what the outcome is going to be. And that is something that I just, when I look back at my younger self, I always wanted big things, but I just wasn't sure how to get there. I wasn't sure how these things would ever come to fruition. And I think if I would have been able to hold myself accountable in my mindset that I'm just going to choose courage to keep pursuing
Yeah.
the thing and keep going after it, I think I might have wasted a little less mental and emotional energy along the way.
100%. I love the way you put that though. That was such a beautiful way to end the podcast. And if I can just add one thing, I think it's most people forget that they're scared the first time they do anything. That fear is always going to hit them for the first time. And as you say, it's just a matter of kind of using it as good energy instead of bad energy. I like
Right.
to think of it as like nervousness and just pushing you in that right direction. If you're scared of something, it usually means you should be doing it.
Yeah.
In
A
my
little bit
mind.
of fuel there.
Exactly that. But Lacey, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
Yes. So go to endeavorbranding.com and right, you don't have to do a thing once you get there. You can see a button right when you land on our page to book a call with me. Just hop on my calendar and that's free to do. I love connecting with you and hearing your story. And we will absolutely kind of point you in the direction of what we offer to find the right spot for you to see if we're a fit. And then on social media, you can find us at Endeavor Branding on Instagram. And I am Lacy Arant on LinkedIn is probably a great place for this audience to find me. And then Lacy, Lacy underscore Lately, Lately on Instagram as well.
Beautiful stuff. And Lacey, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Lacy Arant, as she just said. Drop her a message on LinkedIn. Check out was it Endeavor Brand on Instagram, and we'll put all the other links down below. But please drop her a message. I'm sure she'd love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we will see you on the next one.